What's up guys, Stanton Giles here. Today is all about the wedding teaser film. Wedding teasers are probably one of my favorite things about what we do as wedding videographers. Because of that, I've chosen 4 films from our Facebook group Destination Wedding and Elopement videographers to review today, as well as one of my own elopement teaser films that I shot last summer. If you haven't had a chance to join our Facebook group, you'll find a link to it down in the description of this video. Now the films that I'm reviewing today aren't necessarily Destination Wedding or elopement teaser films. They're just generic teaser films. Some of them are, some of them aren't. This video is really about us focusing on getting better at what we do, because I believe that the teaser film is one of the best ways to build hype around our brand with clients and in the wedding industry. Remember, this is just my opinion. I know that art is subjective, so anything that I say can be taken at face value. This is just my subjective view of what I think is good or bad. So there'll be pros to every video, there'll be cons, but let's go ahead and dive in. Firstly, we'll start with my teaser film from last summer, Kari and Alden up in Glacier National Park. Let's go.
The thought of getting to stand in the mountains and getting to see Alden, who is this man that I have dreamt and prayed for, I really can't put into words what that does for my heart. It's overwhelming.
My beloved Kari Juliana, your presence is of hope and breathes life into those around you. My heart is overwhelmed with joy knowing that God has brought us together and has walked with us each step of the way to this very moment of becoming one.
So today I'm not going to be really getting into the ins and outs of what happened in this teaser film. At a later date, I'm going to be getting into the actual highlight film that I made for them, talking through everything that happened, the prep, the day before, day after sessions, and things like that. But there are a couple things that I want to talk about in this video. Firstly, something that's super important to teaser films is the build. I personally think that teaser films are nothing without a good build. We're there to tease our clients, to tease the viewer. So in order to make it engaging, we have to make some sort of build, whether it's through the footage that you're using or the actual climax of the song and the build that's within it. I think it's imperative that we're making sure that our teaser films have a bit of excitement to it. Another thing that I think is super important for teaser films is building anticipation, which is different than the build of the song or building to the climax of the song. Anticipation is something that we haven't yet shown something, but we're teasing it. We're showing that, hey, if you watch the actual film later, it's going to be worth it. And we're trying to show that with this teaser film. For example, let's go over here to my video. Let's look in it real quick. There are 2 things in particular that I wanted to talk about here. And there's this one part right here. It's almost like a second build that happens in the song, but it's the actual part where they're having their first look here in Glacier National Park. If you notice, I chose not to actually show the actual first look, just the anticipation of her coming up and putting her hand on his shoulder. Another thing that sometimes I see wedding videographers do that I think that they shouldn't be doing in teaser films is showing the actual first kiss after the ceremony. I think that there should be anticipation building into that. Just like with the bride walking down the aisle or the groom's reaction to that, those are all really great ways to build anticipation. So try finding ways with your teaser films to have build with the music or with the shots that you're picking, or anticipation. I think that these really pay off in the long run for teaser films. Another thing that I think is really important for teaser films is choosing between whether you're going to tell a story in a chronological way with the way that your footage is laid out, or if it's going to be more of just an overall recap. If you watch this film back, you'll see that I am using stuff from the day before and day after sessions, and I'm sprinkling portraits in between all the stuff that's happening on the actual elopement day to break up the monotony of the story just happening. This is a teaser film, so we're making sure that we're wanting to keep the viewer engaged as much as possible. If I'm just telling their story straight up without putting any portraits in it or anything, I believe that it gets sometimes a little boring. I think it's good to break it up with day before and day after sessions. Which brings me to my last point that I want to make with this teaser film. If you're out there shooting a destination wedding, an elopement, or just a regular wedding, I think day before and day after sessions are super critical to making the film go above and beyond. If I didn't do the portrait session on Flathead Lake up in Montana with them the night before, and if I didn't do the sunset hike the day after where they carried their wedding clothes up to the top of the mountain, this film wouldn't be near as good. I didn't have enough content from the actual elopement day, and I knew I needed something to help break up that story. And so day before, day after sessions are absolutely critical to me to try to sell to your couples or to go ahead and add on if you feel like that's what you need to make your films better. A couple things I think I could have done better in this teaser film. I had the opportunity to get audio of him playing the guitar when they were sitting there on the side of the lake at the opening of this teaser film. I didn't do that. Audio is so critical in making sure that you have more than just a music video that you're making. Make sure that you're capturing audio of your couples. This shot right here of her looking at her dress, I love this shot, except for the fact that I wish I would have done something with the color matrix in my actual Sony camera to compensate for all the bounce. I did my best with this. There's some kind of weird hues going on with the bounce from the lake behind her and the trees. But overall, I wish I would have taken just a little more time just to go and move those dials around, compensate for the blue and the green that's kind of bouncing around. You can't see it as much in here, but I know behind the scenes that that's what happened. One more thing that I wish I would have done is I wish I would have captured more of the behind the scenes of their actual sunset hike. All you see at the top of this mountain is them being there in their wedding clothes. But there was a really cool hike that led up to it, going up some craggy cliffs. There was mountain goats along the way. And to be honest, after filming for 2.5 days, I was kind of getting lazy. So I wish I would have done that. Hindsight's 2020. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that this teaser turned out in particular. Kari and Alden were fantastic to work with. They were down for anything. And I had a blast doing what I do for a living. All right, guys, so we're going to be jumping into the first of the 4 films that we're going to be reviewing today. It's from a filmmaker named Dylan Moore. We're going to be looking at this film. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this just in from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Media moguls Floyd Wonder are now the richest men in the world. That's right, forget about Carnegie, forget about Ford, forget about Rockefeller. Floyd Wonder has the Midas touch. Sources say they're worth millions, some say billions. Look out, folks, here they come.
I don't really care, I'ma be a billionaire. Like, I don't really care, I'ma be a billionaire. Like, I don't really care, I'ma be a millionaire. Like,
Okay, so firstly, I really liked the music choice. I thought it was really cool that you tried making it this hype thing. I saw on the form that you filled out, Dylan, that the couple wanted a hype and energetic vibe to their teaser film. So good job on delivering in that aspect. I did see on Music Bed that there was an instrumental version of this, and one of my critiques would be I might have used the instrumental version in the beginning of that instead of that actual audio from the song, because it talks about the artist of the song, Floyd Wonder, and I feel like personally it pulls me out of the actual story of what's going on in the teaser. So I would have maybe filled that with a fun moment from the actual wedding day, or maybe some audio or something like that, maybe a grand entrance, who knows. Sky's the limit is that, but that's something I would have done different in the beginning. I also really liked the opening shot that you chose after the kind of buildup of the radio sounding voice of the hand sitting there on the edge of the seat. I thought that was kind of suspenseful and built anticipation like we talked about earlier, so good job on that front. I did notice a couple of exposure issues throughout it, like when the groom and the groomsmen were coming down the stairs, but other than that, I thought you did a really good job. Another thing I probably would have done for this wedding is light that reception. I love how lights look on the dance floor. Makes it easier to see the facial expressions, see what's going on. I know sometimes that some people aren't the biggest fans of having lights on the dance floors because they think it kills a vibe, but you're there to capture their wedding day, and I think that lights on a dance floor look really good. My last critique of this teaser film is that the composition on the very last shot was a little to the right and rotated, as well as the camera shaking a little bit. I like the idea of the shot, but it kind of drew me out as the teaser was ending. So that's my last con about the video. To end on this note, Dylan, I think you've got some really good video editing instincts. I think that your cuts to the songs and your song choice was really good. I think the sky's the limit as far as things go for you as a wedding videographer. So good job. All right, so this next film is from a filmmaker named Holden Pierce, filmed in Elopement out in Yosemite. Let's go ahead and watch it.
Remembering where we began to see this empty canvas, the future.
I've tried my whole life to be a better man, and very, very rarely felt like I was enough. Until I met you. I've never had to try with you.
When we're together, the world comes alive. Every color
You are the woman I want Georgia to grow to be. So I won't promise you that I will try to be better. I just promise you that I will be me.
Up in the clouds, reaching the stars from the ground.
So Holden actually informed me that this was an Instagram cut of his Yosemite teaser film. So the abrupt beginning and the abrupt end were on purpose because it's looping on Instagram. So that was good to know getting into this film, because otherwise I would have been like, make sure that you have a good beginning or a good ending. But it makes sense in light of that. I'm very partial to Yosemite. I love filming there. It's one of my favorite places. Getting up on Taft Point, eye level with sunset, it's just an amazing experience. Just a couple things I noticed in this was that the mix of the audio and the music, it made it really hard to hear what he was saying at certain points. At some points you could hear what he was saying because the music was a little bit quieter, just inherently because of the characteristic of the song. But I noticed that the level of the song didn't change throughout the whole film. So what I would have done is I would have pulled the actual mix of the music down just a little bit so that you could hear what he was actually saying. One more comment that I have about the ceremony portion of this teaser film is that although I do love the focal length of the compression that focal length provides by you zooming in and getting close to him, I thought the composition was a little bit left of center, whereas I think that it would have been a little more aesthetically pleasing if you would have moved him to the right more recomposed or something like that. Just a tiny note on that one part, but I loved how you were zoomed in on him to where we could actually see the emotion of what was happening. One other thing that I saw was that there was a tight shot of her dress with his arm around her, and it was a completely blown out backside of her dress. Since the dress is the subject of the actual shot, I would have tried to make sure that I exposed for that portion correctly. Also, I love the shots that you got up on Taft Point. I'm very partial to Yosemite, like I said. Hard to make that look bad, but Holden, you made it look great up there. Good job on that front. That light up there is incredible. So good job at motivating your couple to actually take the mile hike to go to Taft Point and have that portrait session. That was really cool. Next up, we got a film from another filmmaker named Kyle Tyndall. Let's see what Kyle has. Okay, so the first thing that I like about this is the actual quality of the footage and the composition. I thought you composed really well, and just the overall look of it looked really high quality. I really liked the color on the first half, but it seemed like as the film went on that it got a little bit more contrasty and a little bit more saturated in the red and orange channel. Another thing that I noticed is that other than the opening shots of the dress and then the ring shot that was later on in the teaser film, everything was portraits of just them, or it had the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. Personally, I would have added a couple shots of maybe getting ready or the dancing or the ceremony or something like that, just to kind of mix it up a little bit and keep the viewer engaged. One final note is that the only thing that was off-putting about the film to me was the shot of the bridesmaids with the chain-linked fence behind them. I didn't even look at the bridesmaids because I was looking at the fence. So other than that, I thought it was a beautiful film. It looked like you had amazing lighting. I love the light leaks you were doing. You're actually very killer at composing your shot so that the sun is leaking between you and your subject. So good job on that, Kyle. All right, so this last one is from a filmmaker named Donovan Juggerrap. Let's see what Donovan has.
Every day with you is magic. Every kiss is better than the last. It's a home I've never known, a place I know will last. For a lifetime of I love yous, two hearts, one beat. You whisper to me, be mine for a lifetime. It's the little things that make our hearts meet. It's like I can hardly breathe when you say my name. I know you've waited and
So, firstly, I thought that the music that you picked fit really well with the footage that I was looking at. I thought that your white balance and your exposure were spot on. I did kind of get the vibe as I was watching it that this was more of a styled shoot than an actual wedding. The reason for that being that I only saw some details from the wedding day and some portraits of them standing in the snow. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I really think it's important to try to add some story to your films. Try to break up the portraits so that we can keep the viewer engaged. This is a longer teaser film. We're pushing 1 minute and 50 seconds. So in order to keep that viewer engaged, I would have liked to see just a little bit more story, something to break up the monotony of seeing the portraits over and over again. The black and white shots that were sprinkled throughout it kind of threw me off a little bit, but other than that, I really like some of the shots that you put in there. The shot that you slowed down of her looking up at the camera with the snow falling, love that shot. So my last thoughts on this video are that at the very end, I probably would have not faded out and then faded back up to another shot. When the music fades out, I would have gone ahead and faded out my shot and left it at that. Even though I like the shot that you put in at the very end, I probably would have either nixed it and put it in the highlight film or moved it to somewhere else in the film. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I had a ton of fun looking at your films. Thank you to everybody that submitted a film. I really appreciate it and I loved watching all of them. If you found something beneficial from this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be making more videos about destination wedding and elopement videography as time goes on. Also, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, we have an active and growing community on Facebook for destination wedding and elopement videographers. We would love to have you. Link is down in the description. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.